Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the past 8 years on this committee, we've heard a lot of comments and hearings about our aging coal and nuclear fleet, that it's out there, and unfortunately, in many regards, it's very expensive to upgrade those facilities. And in so doing, when they do make those upgrades, sometimes they lose their competitiveness, and it puts them in a dilemma. Now, what we're talking about now is we have across this country, we have 531 coal-fired power plants have shuttered in the last 10 years. We've had 11 nuclear power plants have closed down during that period of time. Now, we keep having hearings, keep discussing it, but I want to move from the abstract to something concrete. I've got a power plant in Pleasants County, West Virginia. It's a 1.3, 1,300 megawatt, 1.3 gigawatts of power. They tried to sell that plant back in, because it's a merchant plant. They tried to move it over to the regulated, and they were denied. So as a result, the operator now is seriously considering, and I believe it'll happen before the end of the year, of declaring bankruptcy and shutting that plant down. Just follow the ramifications of that. This is a small county. 30% of the tax revenue comes from that power plant. 30%. So 30%, that's an overnight reduction. It's going to affect their school system. What about their EMS? What about their hospital? All the things that the county provides services have now a 30% reduction as a result of this. Now, it goes further. We can further this domino effect. If this power plant closes down, it's very high likelihood the coal producer that supplies that power plant will similarly declare bankruptcy. If he declares bankruptcy, his relief will be to get away from his pension, his UMWA pension responsibility, which currently now funds 120,000 retirees. Now, the object would be as if that's reduced, they would be shifted over likely to the Federal Pension Guarantee Fund. But I've got a letter from the Pension Guarantee Fund that says, don't put those 120,000 on us because then we'll go under. So you see the domino effect of this. A mere request somehow provides some assistance so they could be an existing power plant. And it's been rebuffed. So I'm just curious about, wouldn't it be more efficient and prudent to try to find a vehicle, a means, whether it's the 403, whether it's a 202C, some modification of that, so we can keep some of our marginal power plants operative? Now, so, Mr. Chairman, if I could ask you on it, when FERC denied the 403, did anyone come up with what the cost to the consumer could have been if 403 had been imposed on, let's say, Pleasants County power plant? Does anyone have an idea what the cost could be? Just keep it operating? I guess the answer is none of you know.
I'm sorry, Congressman. You refer to the cost of the Secretary of Energy's 403 NOPR directed to us?
Just what would it cost to keep that power plant operating? Are you talking about $50 a year per customer?
I do not have that figure. Could
you get that to me? Because this, we have reason to believe it's less than $50 a year per customer. And the consumer currently is paying $50 a year for tree trimming.
We will absolutely
with the hundreds of jobs that could be lost, the pensions that could be lost for our miners and our steel workers, all that would be affected with this. I think we have a more responsibility to look at this thing holistically rather than just an ideological fight against what we think is a free market. And I think too many of you have said, both publicly and privately, that we really are questionable whether we have a free market system in energy. Would you agree? Let me just ask you, Mr. Chair, do we have a free market system in energy?
We do not have a perfect market system in energy. That is certain.
Okay, because I think, Mr. Powelson, you said in Pennsylvania that without the subsidy for wind and solar, there wouldn't have been any buildup there. Is that correct?
I put it in the context of the renewable portfolio standard, how it was designed.
Okay.
We also, though, in our RPS, I believe we have a requirement set aside for waste coal in that RPS. So, but yes, your point, to the chairman's point, and to Secretary Perry's point, these are not pure markets. There's been.
Thank you. I don't think they are either. So I'll just close with, again, I'm asking, look seriously at the bigger picture. What we're going to do to communities like Pleasant County, West Virginia. A 30% overnight loss of tax revenue. How are they supposed to meet their education demands, their health care? Please, thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Congressman.
Mr. Con.